Hi, I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an international leadership coach, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and I've helped thousands of people unlock a deeper, more authentic power within themselves than they even thought possible. And today I want to show you something that you might be overlooking because your worth, your value, your power, it does not depend on being fixed. Your most powerful growth won't come from changing yourself. So let's dive into that a little bit together. In this video, we're going to walk through the 4 foundational principles that I use with clients when they feel stuck or they can't stop trying to fix themselves. The first one is clarity, seeing this lie that we've internalized. The second one is ownership, naming who we are without apology. The third is resolution, healing that need to prove that we are worthy. And the fourth one is excellence, leading from authenticity, not from perfection. So let's begin where that pressure usually starts, with the belief that something is wrong with you, right? What most people feel. We've all heard those inner voices that whisper, when I'm more confident, then I'll be ready. Or if I just weren't so sensitive, then I'd be taken seriously. Or when I can finally stop being so emotional, then I can lead, or then I can take action, or then I can do what it is that I want to do. Right? We set up these conditions that I'm not okay this way. As soon as I'm that way, then. Well, that voice is not the truth. Those are beliefs that you've internalized, we've all internalized. And it's also a symptom of a system that has taught you that approval of who you are and acknowledgement of your value comes from performance, not simply from being who you are. From a super young age, maybe you learned, as many have, that we learn to be good. You got to be quiet, controlled, helpful, polished. I know I was taught that children are seen and not heard, that I'd be understood or given an opportunity to talk when I'm older, right? So there was a constant message of you're not okay as you are, you're not okay as you are, you're not okay as you are. And then every time that I behaved, right, I got that gold star or I got that acknowledgement. So then we internalize that idea that I have to edit myself in order to be enough, or I have to change who I feel naturally if people are going to love me or accept me, or I can be safe in the world. But clarity begins when you realize you were never broken. There was never anything wrong with how you were. You were conditioned according to whatever those particular people's frameworks were, whether it's your school, your family, religion, society. Everybody has frameworks and they're told you better get clear and act in this way, right? I remember whenever I used to call my mom after I left home and I'd ask her how she was doing, what she'd consistently say is, I'm getting better. And I always thought, when is she going to be better? Like, when is she going to know that she's there? And so I invite you to know that you're already there. You don't need to get anywhere. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to try and improve. It just means that you're absolutely okay. You're more than okay just the way you are. Let's name that clearly so you can stop trying to fix a problem that actually never really existed. Okay, let's talk about ownership. So real growth comes from when you stop trying to become a better version of yourself and you start becoming simply more of who you are. You become honest about who you are. Ownership means taking back the narrative, whichever one that you took on. Whatever's happened to you, you can reframe it. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute about reframing. And ownership also means that you refuse to wait until you are ready. Ready? You're never going to be 100% at anything. It's just the way it is. Even the master Olympiads or martial arts people, whatever it is you're doing, or musicians, the ones that have reached the apex, if you ask any of them, they can tell you, oh, I could have done that note a little more clearly. I could have just elongated my shoulders on that one a little bit more, right? There's always somewhere else you could get to. So you don't have to wait until something happens for you to feel like you can do what it is that you want to do. And ownership means that you show up as you are, not who you think they want and not who you've told yourself you need to be, but you literally show up as you are. I'm sure you've seen these teachers that say t-shirts that say, "Be you to full." Beautiful. Be you. That's beautiful, just the way you are. And those aren't just words. Like, try that on. Feel into that. So here's a simple practice that I give clients. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to fix that's actually a feature and not a flaw? So for example, maybe you have a strong voice, or your humor is irreverent, or you have an analytical mind. And in a lot of situations, you're like, oh, there's that analytical mind again. I'm being too, or oh my Lord, there's my irreverent humor, right? The things that we feel we should hide or we've been told aren't okay. Is that really so? Like, is your sensitivity really a weakness? Or is it actually the source of your emotional intelligence, for example? Is the fact that you pause before speaking, does that mean that you hesitate and you're indecisive? Or actually, are you giving thought to things? Are you considering prudently? Right? So here's the practice that I want to give you. Take out a piece of paper and it's useful if you can do it by hand. If not, you can use your computer or phone. Okay, so on one half of the page, write down all of those traits of yourself that you think are flaws, faults, things that either you've been told aren't okay or you feel they're not okay, whatever it is. Okay? And do that list first. Wait till it's finished. And then on the other side of that, right across the line, write how that actually can show up as a strength. It depends on how you look at it. Like that humor, that taking a pause, that emotional sensitivity, as you're calling it. How does that show up as a strength? And then list those things that way as those strengths and see which one of those lists you want to live from. Which side or what perspective of yourself do you want to live from? Right? So ownership is saying, this is me and this is valuable. And honestly, you alone get to determine that. Nobody else gets to tell you that. And you are valuable because you just simply exist. All right, let's talk about resolution. Take it a little bit deeper. Oh, deeper, she says. Okay, so if you believe that you have to earn your worth, you'll keep chasing milestones, right? These people that are perfectionists, or these people, I've been there, perfectionists, or so performance oriented. I'm not talking, I know at work you have performance milestones and things like that. But if you don't identify with those things, then those are things that you can accomplish. But what happens is we start to attach our value, who we are as people, with those outcomes. And then even when you reach them, you still don't feel safe because then there are new ones, right? You never get there. And then you ask yourself, haven't I done enough? Do they want more? Like, when will I know? It's a never-ending treadmill. And what I'm inviting you to do is to reclaim the experience of your value so that when you do things, when you take actions, when you make decisions, when you do your performance for your work or wherever it is you're doing it, sports, personal life, you're doing it from a place of excitement or of commitment and not in order to get acknowledgement, not in order to be enough. Does that make sense? Right? So it's about releasing this lie that you have to become either someone else or a different version of yourself in order to be worthy. And that's simply not so. We've just bought into that for good reason, but we can let that go now, right? So you can try on a different framing. So for example, you can say, I'm growing because I deserve to grow, not because I have to earn my place in the world. And I assure you, this is not self-help fluff. This is really nuts and bolts of how you can heal your nervous system, right? So our nervous system, the oldest part of our systems, it begins in our base brain, that it's the fight or flight, right? I'm sure you've heard that. When things get tense, we're either gonna get ready to fight or we're gonna flee. And that nervous system response is always in action, even when it's not physical, you can't see it on the outside. It's going on the inside, and it's exhausting. It's what often leads to nervous breakdowns, to burnout, even to heart attacks. So when you're not trying to be better constantly and to do more and to be seen as whatever, when you accept that you are valuable and worthy just the way you are, and you give yourself not only permission, but you invite yourself richly to show up as you are and to be seen now and not later, your whole nervous system calms because that's who you are. Then it's congruent. It's like, oh yeah, I got this. That feels right. Got it. And you know that feeling. So I'm inviting you to live from that place. All right, let's talk about excellence, right? And as I speak about excellence, it's coming from this place of wholeness and not performance. It's not about doing something perfectly. It's about showing up with all of who you are. And when you stop fixing, stop trying to be better, and you show up as you are, then you unlock this kind of excellence that's really unmistakable, because they call it today your zone of genius, right? When you're just being you in that place that just rocks it, that's excellence, right? You take action, or you lead from this clarity of purpose and of intention, not trying to be perfect, but just this drive, this natural drive. And then you'll communicate from groundedness. People will hear you and respond to you because you're not coming from a place of fear or having to look a certain way. And you'll also be able to create space when you're being that way for other people to do the same. You actually give people permission to be all of who they are when you're being all of who you are. Because when you drop the mask, other people feel safe to do the same, right? You make a mistake, you can laugh at it. You take responsibility for something, or you acknowledge your own successes. That gives other people permission to do the same. So when you have that kind of radical authenticity, it's amazing what you can do for other people. I did a training once a long time ago, and it was on authenticity. And at the end of it, big group, they had a vote of who was the most authentic person in the room and who was the most inauthentic person in the room. And what was amazing to me, I was voted as the most inauthentic person in the room. And a half an hour later, I was voted as the most authentic person in the room. And the fascinating thing was that they used the exact same criteria. Remember that list I said, try looking at it as faults and then try looking at it as strengths? They were talking about the exact same traits that I had. And what I realized from that experience, which kind of knocked me over to begin with, is I thought, wow, I'm the only one that knows when I'm being authentic. Nobody knows that except for me. And I will be judged. We all will be, right? But when I know that I'm showing up with my whole self, the best version of myself authentically, then it's good. Then I've done what I need to do, right? So it's not having to have all the answers or show up perfectly. It's about anchoring within yourself and bringing that best self to the forefront. All right, so let's wrap it up. Here's what I'd like you to do today. I'd like you to pick one thing that you've been putting off until you felt more ready, whatever it is, in your professional life, private life, health-wise, just one thing where you've been saying, nah, gotta wait until XYZ. Go do it. Even if you don't do it perfectly, even if it turns out a little messy, whatever it is, just do it. And then ask yourself, have I done this from my sense of worthiness and not from trying to be better in some way, right? Have I stepped 100% into who I am? And if you have, man, that you've experienced really all of your value. So if this message resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's maybe been caught in a similar trap of not feeling like they're worthy or having to fix themselves, which they don't need to. Your story does not need to be rewritten in order for you to be worthy. You need to simply reclaim who you are, all of you. Simple, because you're worthy. I'm Leezá Steindorf, and I'm truly honored to walk with you on this journey.